Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to share this presentation. I am Kenya Davis, a sixth grade math teacher and graduate student in curriculum and instruction at Grand Canyon University. This presentation is intended for administrators, classroom teachers, interventionists, and support staff seeking practical ways to strengthen differentiation and student engagement through brain-based learning while maintaining rigor and helping more students access, process, and maintain mathematical understanding. In my professional setting at Detroit Premier Academy, students enter the middle school mathematics classroom with different levels of background knowledge, confidence, attention, language development, and readiness for independent problem solving. Because these differences directly affect learning, differentiation is not simply a teacher preference. It is an intentional system that helps students access the same rigorous learning target through different supports, representation, and opportunities to demonstrate understanding. This information is especially important for administrators, teachers, interventionists, and support staff because responsive mathematics instruction requires a shared approach across the school team. Our goal cannot be to teach one lesson in one way and expect identical results. Instead, our goal is to align instruction with how the brain attends to information, connects new ideas to prior knowledge, practices skills, and stores learning for later use. Brain-based learning anchors this work by applying what is known about attention, emotion, memory, active processing, neuroplasticity, pattern recognition, and prior knowledge to the design of more effective learning experiences. Research emphasizes that attention is limited and filtered, while emotional processing influences whether information advances toward deeper learning and long term memory. Because learning strengthens the brain through repeated and meaningful neural connections, students are more likely to retain mathematics when they feel safe and actively solve, explain, discuss, create, and retrieve information. In practice, this means teaching in manageable chunks, using visuals, connecting new ideas to familiar experiences and prior knowledge, and creating a classroom culture where mistakes are treated as useful information for learning and growth. Differentiation should be understood as a rigorous system of access, not as lowering expectations or assigning easier standards to certain students. The differentiated instruction source explains that teachers adjust methodology, content, process, pacing, representation, support, and opportunities to demonstrate understanding based on learner needs so students remain engaged, challenged, and supported while working toward the same rigorous learning target. This connects directly to brain-based learning because students make learning more meaningful and lasting when instruction builds on prior knowledge, supports pattern recognition, considers emotions, and requires active processing. In math, differentiation helps students move from not knowing where to begin to selecting a strategy, explaining their reasoning, checking their work, and revising when needed. The first differentiation strategy is flexible learning pathways, which intentionally differentiates access without reducing the learning outcome. I begin with a quick diagnostic, such as a warm up, pre check, or error analysis to identify what students already know and where working memory may become overloaded. I then match support to the evidence by offering aligned options such as a balanced model, manipulatives, visuals with dual coding, guided notes, partner reasoning, an annotated example, or an independent challenge. All students work towards the same success criteria, and an exit ticket provides timely feedback about what strategy worked, where the student became stuck, and what should be tried next. This creates a classroom ready cycle of diagnosing, matching support, gathering evidence, and adjusting instruction. The second differentiation strategy is metacognitive scaffolding, which teaches students to become more aware of and in control of their own learning. Stanton, Sebesta, and Delaski describe metacognition as including both knowledge about learning and the regulation of learning through planning, monitoring, and evaluating. In math, I model a plan, monitor, evaluate, adjust cycle by first thinking aloud, then providing a strategy menu, guided practice, and a reflection prompt. Students identify what they know and choose a method, check whether each step still matches the problem, evaluate what worked and what error patterns appeared, and decide what they will do different next time. As students gain confidence, I gradually fade the support so they can select strategies, check their reasoning, and take greater ownership of their learning independently. Engagement is more than quiet behavior or completing a worksheet. It reflects a student's cognitive, emotional, and behavioral investment in learning through attention, effort, curiosity, strategy use, and persistence. Kwan explains that the brain filters information and that only a limited amount receive conscious attention, which is why students are more likely to engage when learning includes relevance, choice, novelty, achievable challenge, peer interaction, and timely safe feedback. In math, this is especially important because students who feel overwhelmed or unsafe may shut down before the task begins. For reluctant learners, engagement grows when they believe I can begin, my thinking matters, and mistakes help me determine my next steps. One engagement strategy is low stakes retrieval, which Kwan describes through short 5 to 8 minute quizzes that support both engagement and learning. In sixth grade math, this can include warm ups, exit tickets, error analysis, or retrieve from yesterday questions that keep prior standards active while new content is introduced. Students first think independently, then compare their reasoning with a partner, and finally receive timely corrective feedback. This routine applies the testing effect through, through effortful retrieval, strengthens memory, supports interleaving, helps students learn from mistakes, and can reduce the pressure that comes from relying only on high stakes assessment. A second engagement strategy combines relevance, choice, collaboration, and productive struggle so students experience mathematics as both meaningful and achievable. The differentiated instruction source identifies real world connections, active learning, and emotional relevance as important for engagement and retention. While, while Quan connects engagement to choice, prediction, peer interaction, achievable challenge, and reduce excessive stress. In practice, math can be connected to familiar contexts such as sports, money, transportation, technology, or school data, while students choose to represent their reasoning with a table, equation, diagram, written explanation, manipulatives, or a digital tool. Structured sentence stems support collaboration, and hence checkpoints and do-overs preserve rigor while helping students remain in the reflective learning zone instead of shutting down. For implementation, I recommend that we begin with a focused 4-week plan that applies brain based learning in a practical and manageable way. During the first week, establish shared, staff friendly language for brain based learning, differentiation, engagement, and metacognition. In week 2, teachers model one think aloud routine and consistently use one differentiated support. In week 3, add brief retrieval practice and timely feedback while tracking participation, exit tickets, and student reflection. In week 4, analyze that evidence and adjust supports based on readiness, language needs, confidence, and misconception patterns. Because the differentiated instruction source cautions against misinterpreting neuroscience or treating brain based strategies as a one size fits all, leadership should protect planning time, encourage peer observation, and focus walkthroughs on evidence of student thinking rather than compliance checklists. Success should be visible in both student and teacher behavior and supported by clear evidence over time. Stanton and colleagues explained that students with stronger metacognition can recognize what they do not understand, select and apply appropriate strategies, and adjust their approach based on results. In practice, students should be able to name a strategy, explain why it fits, identify confusion, and revise their thinking. While teachers use evidence rather than assumptions to determine who needs a model, peer support, additional practice, or enrichment. Administrators should also see consistent routines that promote retrieval, discourse, feedback, reflection, and independent starts, along with stronger retention on later assessments. In closing, differentiation and engagement are most effective when they are grounded in how learning actually occurs. By combining rigorous goals with flexible access, metacognitive support, retrieval practice, relevance, and safe, productive struggle, we can create classrooms where more students are willing and able to think. The references on this slide support the strategies presented. Thank you for your time and for your consideration on how these practices can be implemented across our school team.